Chapter 2. Whoa, I murmured. A chill of fear rolled down my body. What? You see it? What is it? Todd demanded, his fist jabbing my back. I squinted into the gray light, struggling to focus, watching the pale, unmoving figure. It took me a few seconds to realize that I wasn't staring at a ghost. I was staring at Todd's half-full laundry bag. You jerk, I cried. I turned and gave him a hard shove with both hands. It's your laundry bag. He stumbled backward and hit the wall. Well, who would leave it there? He demanded. How was I supposed to know it wasn't a ghost? Because there aren't any ghosts, I screamed. Prove it, he replied. He crossed his bony arms over the front of his X-Files t-shirt. Proof what? I snarled. Proof that there aren't any ghosts? The truth is out there, Todd said solemnly. You'd better stop watching that show, I scolded. Stop reading those scary books and stop watching the X-Files, Todd. You're making yourself crazy. Look at this creepy house, Todd argued. A house that looks like this has to be haunted. It has to. Mom and Dad are really worried about you, I interrupted. They think you're totally losing it. No way, Todd started to protest, but a deafening crash shook the house. Todd and I both jumped and cried out. What was that? Downstairs, I gasped. We took off down the hall, floorboards creaking and groaning. I reached the stairs first and started down, leaning hard on the banister, taking the stairs two at a time. Halfway down, I started into the living room and saw what had caused the crash. A bookshelf had fallen off the wall. The bookshelf Dad just built last weekend. It had toppled over into our couch. Books and framed photos and flower vases had spilled across the floor. What is it? What happened? Todd came hurtling down the stairs so fast he bumped into me. I grabbed the railing to keep from tumbling the rest of the way down. Look out! I growled. It's just Dad's bookshelf. Squeezing the banister with both hands, Todd leaned forward and stared into the living room. That's just the kind of thing a ghost would do, he declared. I turned to him. Excuse me? Ghosts always do mischief, he explained, his eyes on the fallen bookshelf. A ghost did that, Mitchell. I know it. I groaned and rolled my eyes. Todd, you're crazy, I replied through gritted teeth. You know it wasn't a ghost. You know it has to be Dad's fault. Has Dad ever built a bookshelf that stayed on the wall for more than a week? I heard that, a voice cried. Dad lumbered into the room, wiping his hands with a towel. I guess he had been working on some project in the basement as his hands were smeared with grease and two of his fingers were cut. He wore baggy, paint-stained jeans and an old white shirt with several buttons missing. The front of his shirt was also smeared with grease. He brushed his straight brown hair off his forehead and stared at the fallen bookshelf, shaking his head. Wrong brackets, he muttered to himself. Todd thought it was a ghost, I snitched. Still wiping his hands, Dad turned to us on the stairway. No, I used the wrong brackets, he said. Todd, you've really got to stop seeing ghosts everywhere you look. Okay, Dad, Todd replied quickly. He never wants to argue with Dad. Dad has a bad temper, and Todd hates to be yelled at. I'll try. Dad gazed at Todd for a long moment. Then he stepped around the couch, grabbed top of the bookshelf, and shoved it into a standing position. He leaned it carefully against the wall. Broke a vase and a few picture frames, he muttered unhappily. Your mom won't be pleased. Todd and I made our way down the stairs into the living room. I bent down and picked some of the books off the floor and set them on the coffee table. Why don't you guys come with me to the hardware store? Dad asked. We'll buy the right brackets. You're not doing anything important, right? Can I buy more glue stuff from some fiberglass? I asked. Todd made me crack my Camaro model. It wasn't my fault, Todd whined. Why do I always have to be blamed for everything? Calm down, guys, Dad said. Get your jackets and we'll go. A few seconds later, we stepped outside. The rain had stopped, but heavy clouds floated low over the hill. Our front lawn glistened wetly. I could still hear raindrops falling from the trees. Our front yard sloped down steeply toward the town. A misty gray fog covered the valley, blanketing the town from view. The car was parked in the driveway. It was a 14-year-old Chrysler, puke green, a wreck of a car with busted bumpers and one headlight cracked. Dad seldom bothered pulling into the garage. "When we get a new car?" I moaned, climbing into the front passenger seat. Dad frowned. "Mitchell, do you have to ask that question every single time you get in the car?" "I get to ride in the front on the way home," Todd whined. He slammed the back door so hard I thought the car would fall apart. Dad turned the ignition key and started pumping the gas pedal. The car started with a groan on the third try. He let it warm up for a while, then backed down the drive. "This car can barely start. Look how long it takes to warm up," I complained. "I've been reading the car ads, Dad. You don't have to buy a new car. You can lease one." Dad rolled his eyes. "I don't want a new car," he replied through gritted teeth. "I take really good care of this car. It drives just fine." He leaned over the wheel and guided the car around the curves. Forest Valley road slopes sharply, curving as it goes, down to the valley below. Gray fog billowed around us as we rolled lower. Dad switched on the headlights, but they didn't help much. The fog reflected the white back onto the car. "Can't see 2 feet ahead of me," Dad grumbled. He squinted straight ahead through the clouded windshield, both hands gripping the top of the wheel. "Hey!" He uttered a sharp cry. His foot started pumping hard up and down. His mouth dropped open. His face beamed bright red. "Dad, what's wrong?" I cried. He didn't reply. He pumped his foot frantically. The car picked up speed, rolling down the hill faster, bouncing, shooting through the thick fog. "No brakes!" Dad cried. "I don't believe it! No brakes!" Chapter 3, next time, guys.